between different types of sources, such as news articles and opinion pieces. So in today's digital age, teaching these two skills is essential. Basically, because the students must navigate the overload of information, learning to identify reliable content. Also, with the rise of AI, misinformation and fake news in particular tend to spread quite easily. So media literacy is key when it comes to assessing credibility and accuracy. Second, as misinformation spreads rapidly, critical thinking encourages students to question and verify information before accepting it as true. Glad to see so many hands up there. It also promotes responsible digital citizenship by teaching ethical online engagement and the importance of managing our digital footprint for privacy. And finally, as technology evolves, critical analysis of media will be increasingly important, preparing students for future challenges in this ever-changing media landscape. So, as revealed by this online survey that I administered back in 2022, there are 5 top strategies to teach critical thinking and media literacy in high school EFL classes in Buenos Aires. Remember that these were EFL high school teachers based in Buenos Aires. So inquiry-based learning was considered by these teachers to be one of the most effective ways to develop critical thinking and media literacy. As you probably know, inquiry-based learning involves posing questions, problems, or scenarios that require investigation, research, and evidence-based reasoning. It also encourages the students to ask their own questions, seek multiple perspectives, evaluate sources and claims, and also communicate their findings and arguments. Media analysis and production turned out to be another key strategy for teaching critical thinking and media literacy, according to the teachers that I surveyed. Media analysis and production, according to them, helps expose the students to various types of media and also encourages them to analyze and produce their own media content. It can also involve examining the purpose, audience, message, techniques, and different aspects of different kinds of media texts, such as articles, videos, podcasts, images, or even social media posts. Dialogue and debate was identified as the 3rd most important strategy for teaching critical thinking and media literacy. And this typically involves exchanging views, listening to others, providing reasons and evidence, challenging assumptions, and respecting different opinions and perspectives as well. A 4th essential strategy, according to the teachers interviewed, is to support students' self-regulation and metacognition, which we can simply define as the ability to monitor, control, and improve our own learning and thinking processes. These strategies typically involve setting goals, planning strategies, checking progress, seeking feedback, and also adjusting our own actions based on the feedback that we get, right? Last but not least, the teachers interviewed identified a 5th vital strategy for teaching critical thinking and media literacy, which is to instill ethical and social responsibility among the students. These, as you know, are values and attitudes that should guide their actions and decisions in relation to themselves, others, and society. And given that we're a little bit constrained when it comes to time, in the next few slides, I will be sharing 3 different tasks based on the 3 top strategies only. Like I anticipated, the tasks are specifically designed for intermediate high school EFL students in Buenos Aires, Argentina. They consider the local context and their specific educational needs, but they are flexible, and you can totally adapt them for different proficiency levels and educational settings in your own contexts and regions. As you can see on the screen, this first task invites the students to engage in inquiry-based learning, the first strategy that I mentioned. So by engaging in this task, teenagers not only develop critical thinking, but they also gain a deeper understanding of media bias and its impact on society. The first step basically entails providing an overview of what media bias is and why it's important to recognize it. The idea is to discuss different types of bias, such as political bias, commercial bias, or sensationalism. And just to clarify, media bias is when news is presented in a way that shows partiality or favors a certain position. For example, choosing some stories to cover while ignoring other stories, which obviously shapes what we see and know, right? The second step also encourages the students to select media sources. So, for example, you can ask them to select a news topic of interest and let them choose 3 different sources of news coverage on the same topic. Ideally, they should try to find and select sources with different perspectives, such as mainstream news outlets, an alternative news source, and a social media post, for example. For the third step, analysis of sources, the students are asked to work in small groups or individually to analyze each source for potential biases. Ideally, you should provide the students with some sort of checklist of questions to take into account, for example, what's the main argument or perspective presented in each source, what evidence or sources does each source use to support its claims, are there any noticeable language biases, and what is the overall tone of each source. I'll be showing you an example in a second. So after analyzing the sources in step 3, students compare and contrast them, and as part of the fourth step, you can encourage discussions on similarities and differences in coverage, biases, and potential agendas. And to round off the task, you can facilitate a reflective discussion where the students share their findings and insights. For example, they can be asked to reflect on how media bias influences public perception and understanding of daily events and important news topics. This is an example of a biased news story. It was created by EFL high school students based on a very controversial event, the Global Summit on Climate Change, which, as you probably remember, was held in Dubai in December 2023. Can anybody tell me why the story may be biased? You can use the chat for that. Are there any negative terms like big disappointment, maybe? What's the main focus? Does it highlight any positive actions, or does it mostly focus on criticisms? Empty promises, yes. Leaders just talk, exactly. Fails, totally. Fails to impress. Didn't deliver, right. A lot of labeling, little description, totally. Right. Adjectives that indicate reactions, not facts. Excellent. Right. Flashy speeches, right. Exactly. Right. So it mostly emphasizes dissatisfaction and skepticism without really presenting a balanced view or even mentioning any positive outcomes, right? There's loaded language, like you pointed out, emotionally charged terms like big disappointment, flashy speeches, empty promises. So focusing on criticisms while providing minimal or no coverage of any positive outcomes is typical of biased stories, right? Or news stories. All right, let me show you a different example. This second example, which was also produced by intermediate EFL high school students, is a lot more objective. So can you tell me briefly what makes it more objective compared to the previous example? what makes it a little bit more objective. Okay, mixed feedback, diverse reactions, moderate tone. Leaders agreed, all right. Critics argued. Right. So as many of you were pointing out, this provides a balanced and straightforward account of the summit without bias, right? It's a balanced representation, which helps avoid favoring one side over the other, okay? Now, if we want our students to become critical thinkers, and this is something that I always say when I bring this up in my own classes, when I train pre-service teachers, we must critically evaluate the tasks we design, right? So what are the main pros and cons of this inquiry-based learning task designed to enhance critical thinking and media literacy among teenagers? I've included some ideas in there. Can you think of any other pros and cons, or what would you say are the main pros and the main cons according to you? Would you agree with me? Would you say that this is mostly time consuming? Would you just, I mean, would you just decide not to do it because it's time consuming? Hopefully not. Right. The hard part is to select topics or themes that are relevant to them, especially when it comes to teenage learners, right? Right. So you can let them choose their own topics. I think that would take care of it. They can always choose, right? We should not always choose. Okay. Any other ideas? Let's see. Okay. The task is necessary because of the overload of social media bias that impacts their overall development totally. I think all of the tasks that I'll be sharing with you today are quite necessary. Thank you for bringing that up. Like you said, they get to interact with lots of people on social media, and social media is full of bias, right? Promoting collaborative learning and practical application is also super necessary, I think. And although the task may be time consuming, it's totally worth it. And dealing with group dynamics or different group dynamics should not be a problem as long as you assign specific roles for the students to, perform the task. They can divide up the task among themselves, so that should not be a problem. And you can totally deal with the heated arguments that may arise. So that's the whole point, right? Okay, let's see if there's anything else in the chat before moving on. Okay. The main pro, diversity of perspectives for sure. Okay, yeah, that's true. The students may find it difficult to identify biases, but if you introduce the topic like I did and basically point out what makes a news story or a social media post bias, it should not be that complicated. And you can also talk to them and present different examples so that they can spot them easily. All right, moving on to the second strategy that I mentioned earlier. Creating a simple multimedia presentation is also a great task to engage high school students in media analysis and production while also developing and applying their media literacy and critical thinking skills. So to go about this task, the first step is to allow the students to choose a topic that is relevant to their lives or communities. Like I said, it's always better when you let them choose, right? So this could be a recent news topic, an important social issue. What's a recent news topic in Romania, for example? Can someone tell me? What's going on in Romania right now that I may not be aware of? What would be a hot topic in Romania at the moment? The elections. Okay, totally. Canceling the latest elections. All right. So they can choose any topic that they may find interesting. or any subject they are passionate about exploring. Next, you can guide them through the process of researching their chosen topic using a variety of media sources like articles, videos, podcasts. Ask them to critically evaluate the credibility, bias, and perspective of each source, and provide tools and guidelines for evaluating sources. As part of the third step, you can introduce the students to storyboarding techniques. I will be showing you an example in a second in case you're not familiar with that, to help them plan their multimedia project. They can outline the main points, key messages, and visual elements that they want to include. And depending on the sources that are available, they can create multimedia projects in different formats, such as video documentaries, news reports, podcasts, audio presentations, infographics, or even digital storytelling tools like Adobe Spark or Canva. I'm sure you're familiar with those, Adobe Spark or Canva. And as part of the fifth step, you can facilitate peer review sessions where the students can share their projects with classmates for feedback, right? Now, whatever you choose to do at that point, it's important to emphasize the significance of receiving and incorporating feedback to enhance the quality of their work. And this is an example of the third step of the task. In this case, the student created a multimedia project titled Understanding and Addressing Bullying in Argentine Schools. They chose this topic because it's highly relevant for us and also for high school students. And they researched bullying through articles, videos, podcasts, and reports. They checked each source for credibility and bias, and then they outlined their project with this storyboard, which, as you can see on the screen, covered an introduction to bullying, personal stories, expert opinions, and also prevention strategies. And in this case, the final project was a video documentary that was based on the storyboard. And the student chose Adobe Spark. The video itself featured interviews, infographics, some narration, and background music. And it was presented to classmates at a follow-up session where the student received feedback to refine their work. Has anybody ever used storyboarding techniques? Is this something new to you? It's actually quite simple, and it helps the students organize information effectively. So if you haven't tried it out, I highly recommend it. Okay, it's new for most of you. All right. There's different graphic organizers that you can use online if you've never ever tried it before, or you can use Canva or Adobe Spark to come up with the actual storyboard. Even, I mean, Word or any other simple tool can be used to create the actual storyboard. It doesn't really require a lot of time or preparation. So what would you say are the main pros and cons of this second task, creating multimedia presentations on topics like this? I've listed some pros and cons like I did before. Somebody said lista. Not sure what that means. Lista in Spanish meaning list? Or is it a new resource that I'm not aware of? Malina? Lista? What do you mean by lista? List, okay, as in Spanish, all right. Okay, so what about the main pros and cons? Would you agree with me? Okay, they definitely become more comfortable with technology. Hopefully, they will get to use different resources to come up with their final product, which is always a big pro, because the students tend to be a lot more familiar with all these resources than we are. So they tend to find these types of activities quite motivating. Also, the task develops valuable multimedia skills and fosters creativity, right? Through different formats like videos and podcasts. It can also improve communication skills and encourage collaboration. Also provide some real-world media production experience and opportunities to showcase the students' work. Also, group projects might face, issues like uneven participation. Students might struggle with feedback sensitivity. You may also need to come up with some sort of checklist so that the students can give their peers some valuable feedback. Sometimes they don't really know what feedback to give, so putting together some sort of checklist is always helpful. Also, assessing these types of tasks, I always get comments like, okay, the task itself is wonderful, but how can I assess it? And I'm sure you've all used rubrics before. And we have a big advantage these days. You can create rubrics using tools like Magic School AI. Is that something new to you? Magic School AI? Let me type it up. Has anybody used Magic School AI before? Is it new? All right, you need to try it out. It's great. You can design your own rubrics using ChatGPT also, but Magic School AI, Magic School AI is great because there is a section where you get to create your own rubrics. Has anybody else used any other AI tool to create rubrics, or is this something new also? It's new. Okay, Dana, have you used, okay, you've used AI to create songs. All right, Gemini, Google Gemini. Okay, all right. So mostly ChatGPT. Okay, all right. So if you've never ever used Magic School AI, I highly recommend it. It's a free AI tool that you're going to like, most likely. But I'm always very critical of whatever I get. So I highly recommend using the rubric for rubrics, which you can access by scanning the QR code here. The rubric for rubric basically helps you assess the quality of the rubrics that you create or that AI creates. And it's a wonderful tool. It basically describes the features of a rubric that make it useful for assessment and learning in the classroom. And you can definitely use it to assess the quality of rubrics generated by AI tools like Magic School AI or even ChatGPT. But the biggest pro about rubrics is that the students get to find out what your expectations are. Usually we present them to the students in advance so they know exactly what to expect and what exactly we're going to be focusing on when it comes to assessing their final products. So if you've never used rubrics before, I highly recommend them. They're not easy to design. If you're going to design them from scratch, that might take a while. But if you type up the task instructions and you describe who your target learners are, you might get a decent rubric, and then you can always tweak it or adapt it to suit the needs of your learners and make sure that it fully meets the actual task demands. Okay? Now, moving on to the third example. This is a fun exercise to do to spot fake news. This is based on the third strategy that I presented, promoting dialogue and debate. And as you can see on the screen, you can start by dividing your class into two main groups. Group A writes a fake news story, and Group B writes a real story. Whatever group the students are assigned to, the whole point is for them not to share what news type they got, right? Real or fake. The second step entails asking the students to individually write a short 200-word news story and then post it to the school's learning management system forum, or if you have a blog, you can do that, or they can simply share their stories with their classmates. So students in Group A should make up the story, but add 3 elements of truth to it. And students in group B should write about a real story that they find online from a reputable source on a specific topic, for example, the elections, right? Once they're done, the class is divided into different small groups, and the students are asked to read through the stories, discuss, and label each of the stories as fake news or real. And finally, the class is brought together to discuss the results, and each student updates their forum or blog post to identify it as fake or real. If you don't have a blog, or if you don't have a school learning management system, you can do it orally, like I said before. And if time allows, you can ask the students to try free AI tools like lead stories to detect fake news. Let me write it here. Although, let me warn you, many of these tools are not that accurate. Lead stories is a free AI tool that can be used to detect fake news, but it's safer to train your students to detect fake news at this point, because all of these models are being trained. And like I said, they're not fully accurate, okay? There are other free options like News Trust. Let me type it up here. News Trust. This is another AI tool that you can use to detect fake news. And this one allows the users to evaluate and rate the reliability of news and articles. There's also Claim Buster. Let me type it here. Claim Buster. And you can try them out and see that for yourselves. You will see that they're not fully accurate. Claim Buster identifies and debunks false and misleading claims in news and social media. But like I said, no tool is perfect, and it's important to verify information through multiple sources before accepting it as true. And I think that is what we should be focusing on, because AI is also used to create fake news. So it's highly ironic to use an AI tool to detect fake news. See what I'm saying? But I just wanted to bring up some of these free versions so that you can play with them if you want. But like I said, I think it's a lot more important to train your students to identify fake news based on the type of language that is being used, the tone, and whatnot. Oh, you don't see what I type. How come? Can anybody help me out with that? Dana, they don't.
Yes, Marina, I think your chat is set to chat only with hosts and panelists.
Oh, that's too bad.
Change that, please. And then
Can you change that?
I don't know if I can change it.
We changed it.
You've changed it? Thank you. I think that's why.
Oh,
So
okay. Okay, yeah, okay. I kept typing. Claim Buster. Thank you for bringing that up. Newscast. And what was the other one? Lead stories. Wasn't it? Lead stories. All right. All right. So like I said, no tool is perfect. Try them out. See what your own conclusions are. I think it's a lot more important to train your learners to be able to, yeah, thank you, Tudor.
I think it's you need to change that option, Marina. I think, yeah.
I don't get another, yeah, I do get it now. Okay.
From
There you go.
two,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
can
yeah,
change to everyone.
Yeah. I did that already, but I didn't have that option before that. But never mind. All right. You have all the yes. Got that. All right. There you go. Let me show you one example. This was a fake story that was created by 16-year-old high school students in Buenos Aires with an intermediate level of English. And it's quite a good example because there are several elements of truth in it. You may or may know something about Patagonia or not, but Patagonia is a real region in Argentina. Scientific research facilities actually exist in Patagonia, and while time travel is virtually impossible for now, it's still a popular topic in science fiction. So this is an example of a fake story, right? And then this is a real example, which was also created by 16-year-old students in Buenos Aires. And it's credible because it includes specific details that anchor it in reality. It provides a precise date, September 12, 2023, and location, Patagonia, and names a real person, our energy minister, or former energy minister, I should say. The detailed description of the project, building a wind farm and solar power plant to produce 1,000 megawatts or renewable energy, aligns with actual plans and goals that we had related to climate action. And the story also connects to, the initiative itself to Argentina's broader commitment to the Paris Agreement, which basically adds context and relevance. There's also local and international reactions, including support from communities and environmental groups. So it's a pretty real one, as I pointed out. So what would you say are the main pros and cons of this last task? Creating and evaluating news stories to spot fake news. It will probably be engaging and educational, right? Can you highlight any other? Yes, someone said the first one is easier to label as a fake story. Yeah, totally. What makes it fake? Is it Adora? Adora, what makes it fake? You say it's easier to label the first one as a fake story. Adora? Lack of information? Okay, probably lack of context, right? Okay. The time machine, yes, totally. That is definitely fake. Right. Okay. So going back to the pros and cons, I would say that the main con is the limited accuracy of AI tools. Like I said, I can probably pull that up for you. Let me share, now that I can share information in the chat, let me share the link to this in case you want to explore it at your own pace. There's some AI detection tools mentioned, but again, you need to be cautious and try them out yourselves before asking your students to use them. And again, you can reach your own conclusions, but I think that would be the main con. If you let your students use any AI tools to detect fake news, they may not be fully accurate. But it would be an interesting exercise to do for them to also conclude that AI is not perfect and that we need to use it with caution. Okay? All right, now, too much talking on my part. Let's hear your thoughts. I do have a bonus or some sort of bonus track that I want to share with you, but I'd like to see whether there are any insights so far or any specific challenges that you face in your own teaching context when it comes to doing tasks like this. Any thoughts at this point? Are you doing any of this in your classes? Is this something you may want to try out? No? Okay, looks like, all right, there we go. Students can create content and in this way be able to tell apart the real facts from the fake. Yes, definitely. That's why I find the last task, number 3, quite useful. Because they get to incorporate all the things that we talked about at the beginning, right? Using, a different tone, using specific adjectives to make stories less or more reliable. And they get to practice their English in a meaningful and fun way, I think. Okay, self-regulation and metacognition as a strategy. Okay, definitely. All right. Monica would try task 2. That's wonderful, the multimedia presentation. Okay. Anybody else? I get a few hearts there, which is great. Thank you for that. I think all of the tasks are worth trying. And like I said, you can access the presentation. All 3 tasks. All right, Eugenia, that sounds wonderful. Okay. Okay, great. Cristina, you've had classes on identifying facts versus, that's wonderful. Okay. Key insights, critical thinking is about asking questions, the right questions, and then finding answers to them. Media can be used as content to develop CT skills, and that's how we can develop media literacy. Totally. Definitely. All of them. Well, that's great to hear. Wonderful. So let me just show you one last thing that I think is really cool. So as an added bonus, I'd like to wrap up our session with a brief discussion on deep fakes. Does anybody know what deep fakes are? What are deep fakes? Deep fakes? Deep fakes, does that ring a bell? Does anybody know what they are? They're images or video alterations, exactly. Created with AI, right? Yes, definitely. All right, so they are a form of media manipulation, basically, that uses artificial intelligence to alter videos and images, like you said. And understanding how such media is created can help our students recognize how digital content can actually be manipulated. And there are some signs of deep fakes that can be identified to spot misinformation. And I think it's important to teach our students to recognize these signs. For example, I don't know, you can look for inconsistencies when it comes to videos or photos or even audio. Check faces for unnatural smoothness, unusual eye movements, or odd expressions. Sometimes there's like, a robotic tone or mismatched voice tone. Sometimes lip movement is kind of weird. So that's also something to look out for. You can also watch for blurry or glitchy areas in the background and even mismatched shadows and lighting, which can also indicate that the video or the photo has been altered. So this is a short idea that I have. You can host a group discussion, introduce the students to deep fakes, show them examples, and have them, identify some of these elements that I have just mentioned. I'll be showing you some examples that I created using a web-based AI power tool called Magic Hour. Let me type it now. Magic Hour. So that's the tool that I used to create the videos. And you can swap faces, animate pictures, lip sync videos, among other features. So let's see if I'll be playing the first video, and I want you to tell me who the singer is and whether you think that she actually said that or not. Okay? So I'll play the first video. You tell me who the singer is and whether you think she actually said that or not. I do need to share sound. Can I share sound?
I believe you can now, Marina.
Okay.
From what
Let's see.
my colleagues have told me that it's possible now.
Okay. Let's see if you can hear that. Can you hear that? No.
No.
Okay, give me 1 sec. Okay, now it should work.
Them are thieves and cheap. As long as Argentinians are racists. Smell bad, all of them are thieves and cheap. As long as I live, I'll never set foot in Argentina ever again.
All right, so
Argentinians are racists. Smell bad, all of them are thieves and cheap. As long as I live, I'll never set foot in Argentina ever again.
So who do you think she is? And does she actually mean what she said, or are those her actual words? Anybody? Fake. Yeah, it's totally fake. I mean, you can tell just because of the way, exactly, lip movement. Right, right. And who do you think the singer is? Taylor Swift, a fake video. Okay, totally. All right. Let me, yes, it's fake. It's not Taylor. Okay. Any clue as to who that may be? All right, let me play the second one.
I played Argentina a couple nights ago, and that was really, really nice. Wild. It was really, really fun.
Okay, so these are the singer's actual words, but the singer is not real. So in this case, we get the singer's, it's not Lady Gaga, no. And so in this case, we get, it's not real, actually. We get the singer's actual words, but the Billie Eilish, yes, Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish was in Argentina. Let me show you the real video.
I played Argentina a couple nights ago, and that was really, really nice. Wild. It was really, really fun.
And the last one is the real one. Like I said, Billie Eilish was in Argentina. She played at the Lollapalooza and she loved Argentina. She spoke very highly of Argentina. She never said that Argentinians are racist and that they smell bad. But again, the second video is hard to tell, isn't it? It's actually quite hard to tell. All right, so this is just an example of
Argentinians are
Sorry, let me-
racists.
I need to. There you go. Let me play another one, and then we will be wrapping up. These two other examples are quite good, actually. It's hard to tell the difference. But let me show you. Okay. Oops.
I find that, you know, I love playing festivals. It's like one of my favorite types of shows to do. You know, because it's just to see. It's just, you stand there and it's just endless people. And it's really, it's like a feeling that I don't get.
I played Argentina a couple nights ago, and that was really, really nice.
Wild.
It was really, really fun.
Okay. So as you can see, these are quite good. So deepfakes can actually facilitate threats or even blackmail, right? You can create really damaging content. And you may remember that there was a deepfake featuring Taylor Swift saying that she would support Donald Trump, which was later removed. And Taylor herself said the content had been manipulated. So I think it's crucial to help teenagers reflect on the dangers of deepfakes. And we don't probably have time for this, but I did include a short, sorry, let me close this. I did include a short, sorry, let me stop sharing now. And let me share it again. For some reason, the presentation got stuck. Okay.
I find that
I did include, like I said, a short deep dilemma debate that you can try out with your students. Do I have time to go over this, or should I just
I
close
think
the
we have
presentation at
a
this?
little bit of time. Yes, you
Okay,
can.
perfect. All right, so this is what I like to call a deep fake dilemma debate, which basically encourages the students to explore the implications of deep fakes while, you know, practicing critical thinking and ethical reasoning. And it's quite simple. You know, they first learn about deep fakes, their potential problems, such as, you know, misinformation, privacy concerns. They're then divided into small groups, each assigned to argue either for or against deep fakes. And using online resources and articles, they research their positions and prepare arguments. So they can, you know, debate, counter, argue, ask questions, and you can even hold a post-debate discussion highlighting, the importance of identifying deepfakes and also have the students write reflections on their learning. And as an extension, they can even create posters or digital presentations on ethical considerations and deepfake identification tips for the school community or whatnot. I know that we're running short of time, so to conclude, and as we reach the end of this first session, I would like to reflect on the profound words of 𝗵𝗶 Freire, who basically said that education is the practice of freedom, the means by which men and women deal critically and creatively with reality and discover how to participate in their transformation of their world. Today, we have explored how to integrate critical thinking and media literacy into our classes. These aren't just teaching strategies, they're vital practices that enable our students to engage with the world in transformative ways. By integrating media literacy and critical thinking into our lessons, we equip our students with the tools to navigate an increasingly complex media landscape. They learn to distinguish between credible and misleading sources, to grasp the underlying messages of media content, and also to participate actively and responsibly in a global conversation. So as you guys move forward, please remember that our goal should not just be to teach English, but also, and most importantly, to encourage our students to think critically and act meaningfully. Each lesson, each discussion, each activity is an opportunity to practice this freedom that Freire speaks of, a freedom that allows our students to reshape their reality and contribute positively to their world. Thank you for your participation and enthusiasm today. Let's continue to inspire and challenge our students, equipping them with the skills they need to become not only proficient in English, but also insightful, responsible global citizens. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Marina, as well. There were a few questions with regards to your presentation. To be more specific, whether they'll get it or not.
They will, actually. They
exactly.
can. You can get it right now.
Yes, and you'll be able to go through these wonderful ideas again. Thank you. This was really constructive. Interesting to say the least. I think that does it now.
Thank you. Like I said, you can access the presentation by scanning the QR code, and if you want to ask any further questions, you can find me on social media. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have and continue the discussion. Thank you all again, and hope you have a great conference.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Okay. If you could stop sharing, please.
Sure.
Okay. 1 second. So it's a great pleasure to be introducing our next speaker now, Claire Ross. Claire is a training consultant and education professional with over 20 years of experience in English language teaching. She collaborates with the Cambridge University Press and Assessment, providing training and support to teachers in schools and universities worldwide. Claire has taught English in several countries and has trained in many more. Currently, she is dedicated to building teacher communities of practice in Ukraine, creating opportunities for collaboration and growth in challenging contexts. Claire has also co-published research with 𝗦𝗵𝗶 on supporting language teachers in Lebanon to integrate Syrian refugee children into classrooms. We're thrilled to have you with us today, Claire.
Thank you very much, Dana, and a very good morning to all of you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you to Twinkle Star and Cambridge for inviting me to be part of this conference. I've just enjoyed Marina's session, and I've got lots to think about after that.
Just so you know, the sound works now. Yeah, so if you have anything that
okay. In that case, I'm just going to make one tiny change and reshare that so that I can show a video. Excellent. Okay. All right. Oops, sorry. I was preparing for without sound, so I'm just quickly changing to with sound. All right, here we go. Okay, so I'm talking today about quite practical things about teaching, about lesson planning. And I'll be talking about the Cambridge digital platform, Cambridge One, and how we can use it to plan lessons. So 3 key questions today. Firstly, what's available on this platform? How you can use the resources to plan lessons, and how to use them to plan digital homework as well. All right, so let's kick off with this first question. What's available on Cambridge One? So if anybody is thinking, I've never heard of this, if you have heard of it, let me know in the chat. But it's a digital platform for learners and teachers. So if you're using a Cambridge coursebook, it's a place where you've got all your extra materials. Your learners can use the platform for extra practice. There are tests and assessments on there. And it's also where you can keep all your student records. So the records of progress, grading, and you can generate there as well. So if you're not a Cambridge user, that's okay. Think about the resources you do use when you're planning your lessons, and hopefully there'll be some things of interest to you. All right, I can see people already in the chat saying, yes, we know about this. Great, okay. So just to show you what it looks like, if you've got a Cambridge book, you get access to this platform, and I'm going to focus on the library section, which is where you can open up the extra things that you have. Let's see what is there.
Claire, just one thing. I
Yeah.
think we see all of your, we see the presentation, I think not full screen. We're seeing the slides. I think maybe there's a problem on your side, tiny little one.
Oh, okay. Is it on presenter view?
I think we can see everything you're doing on the screen.
How about this?
Better. Perfect.
Okay, all right, we'll go with this. I'll just try and remember what's coming next. Okay. So here's an example from one set of resources. Now, this is for a course book that's quite focused on preparing students for Cambridge exams. I don't know if anyone here is doing this as well, but this includes some practice tests and how to train your learners for the exam, as well as the things you would expect: worksheets, audio, video, and tests, and so on. So I want to show you a couple of examples, and I'll be showing you primary and secondary as we go. But here is a primary book, and the resources here, again, include things you would expect for younger learners. So flashcards, video, and posters. Let's take a look at one of those. And as you look at this on the screen, I just want you to think about how you might use this. It's lovely, it's colourful, you can print it out, put it on your wall, or you can just display it on a smart board. How could you use this in class? What kind of language game might you play with this poster? So it's looking at vocabulary from 2 different units. Yeah, one of them is food, so you might use it to review some vocabulary there. What do you think the other unit was about? Yes, it was animals. Luminita. Yeah, what would you do? Eugenia has written about actions there, so I wonder what your activity would be. Okay, we've got prepositions, identify the animals, action, nice. Talking about different animals' food, lovely. Okay, so look, any great teacher can get a lot of mileage. And of course, with the resources, you've got lots of tips on how to use them. So this one does talk about vocab, but also grammar, literacy activities with this, and spelling as well. If you're like me, you've spent many hours making worksheets or finding something on the internet that's almost what you need for your learners. And on Cambridge One, you've got really specific worksheets to go with each unit of the Cambridge books. And as you can see here, I've got an example of some differentiated worksheets. So this is really helpful if you want to give different learners in your class different levels of challenge and support. Let's look at an example here from a vocabulary worksheet. So you can see here it's looking at the same vocabulary set, so school subjects, but which one do you think is basic? So basic has more support, which is the standard version, and which one do you think is more challenging, which is the extension version? So have a look at those. You can see it's almost the same questions, but some are slightly more difficult or slightly easier. What do you think? Which one might be the easiest one? So Elizabeth has gone in there and Andre. So yeah, so Z is the basic one, the one with extra support, if you like. Which one do you think is more challenging, the most challenging? X or Y? Georgiana, yeah, you're right, that's it. So you might choose, depending on the level and the abilities within your class, you might choose 1 or 2 or even 3 to give during class or as homework. So one of the decisions you'll make while you're planning your lesson. You've also got with this title some PowerPoints. So again, how nice to have this option instead of starting from scratch. If you want to include some PowerPoint material when you're presenting grammar at secondary, you can use the PowerPoints on Cambridge One and edit those if you want to. Now, I was interested to listen to Marina talking about critical thinking and that quote from Paulo Freire about being critical and creative as well. What you'll also find on Cambridge One are some activity cards of short, simple classroom activities to integrate into any lesson, which help your learners develop these skills. You can actually find these on the Cambridge website if you just Google Cambridge Life Competencies cards, and they're for younger learners, teenagers, and adults. So let me just show you a couple of examples. So one of the creativity activities, if they're doing a song or a poem in class, you could challenge them to change some of the words. And here's one on emotional development, so helping learners to identify and reflect on their own emotions. So really simple activities, they could go into any lesson. Again, something to consider when you're planning lessons. Glad you like those cards, Eugenia. All right, so a stop and think now. Have a look at this quote on the screen from a teacher. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you think it's better to mix up print materials, hard copy materials, as well as working on screens? Do your learners agree with you, I wonder? I'm getting lots of agreement there. And Ramona Yulia is saying a mix. Yeah, I think I agree as well. I think it's better to mix things up, even if you've got the most wonderful digital options. And I think we found this, didn't we, during the pandemic, when we really were quite limited. Of course, our learners need this practical hands-on learning, and especially at primary, because they're developing motor skills and hand-eye coordination and how to work with others. That's really important too. Handwriting is still important. Let's not forget to give that as well, right? As well as more creative activities. So it's good to mix up, as you say, digital and non-digital. If you said it, otherwise it's boring, someone has put in the chat. It's nice to have a change of focus. Otherwise, then I think, especially if you're using new digital stuff, sometimes we can go a bit too much on the screen, can't we? Because there's just so much to do on there. But remember, it's good for inclusivity activity, for accounting for different learning preferences. And you can use it as different ways of reinforcing the same language. So they might play a game with flashcards, and then they might do an activity using screens, but practicing the same vocabulary. Okay, so let's think, now you've had an idea of some of these resources, let's think about how we use these to plan lessons. So I'm going to put some things on the screen here. Take a look and let me know in the chat if you do any of these things when you're planning lessons. Maybe you do all of these things. Let me know. You can put the letter or letters. You can say all of them. You can type something you think is missing there. So how do you plan your lessons? Okay, all of them, almost all of them, Claudia. Are we on tea or coffee? I think that's a very important part of, for me, of lesson planning. I think probably, yeah, we do most of these. H is crucial, Elizabeth, I agree. We probably do most of these, don't we, when we're planning? Let's see how this goes with when we're thinking about what we've got available for digital on Cambridge One. Definitely everyone is saying A, really pleased to see that. I just want to mention here for G, if you are using a Cambridge book, I don't think you need to look anywhere else for extra things because there is so much on there that's extra. So first of all, perhaps you might, when you're planning a lesson, you might think about your syllabus, your curriculum, where are you at, and what's coming up in the book, and immediately we're thinking about our learners. So where are they at now? What did we do last time? What do they need? Do they need this now? Will I do this activity? How will I add support or challenge? So here's a shot of the Classroom Tool Presentation Plus. So this is your presentation tool, if you like, with the Cambridge products. And it looks the same as the book. So if you're using something else and you've got a digital version of the book, this is that as well. I think it's really helpful looking at this when you're planning a lesson because you've got everything in one place. If there's video, you can just click and look at it. You can listen to the audio. You can, wherever there's that blue arrow, open up those activities and see what the answers are and think about how you might introduce them, how you might do feedback for each activity as well. You want to have a good look at the songs, and in this primary title you've got the option of playing the audio or the video version with karaoke, so that's something to think about. I hope it will play, so I'm going to play a little bit of this animal song from this book, and as you play it, think about, would you choose audio or video, and with or without titles?
Can you see the lion in the zoo? It's a big yellow lion looking at you. Can you see the zebra in the zoo? It's a black and white zebra looking at you, looking at you. Where are the animals in the zoo? Can you find them? Can you find them? Where are the animals in the zoo?
Okay, so what would you do? What do you think? Would you use audio? Would you use video there? Would you have the subtitles on or off? I can see lots of people saying without the words to start with. I think that's a really good idea. And then we can focus on the music, on the sounds. Right. and maybe you're going to play this more than once. Certainly you'll have this video, the song in your head for the next couple of weeks. So some things to think about when you're planning. But to help you, why not look in the teacher's book? And I think this goes for any planning, doesn't it? Even if you've been teaching the same book for many, many years, perhaps if you've been teaching the same book for many, many years, why not have a look in the teacher's book? Maybe it's been a long time since you did that, and there might be some other ideas to help you to mix up or spice up a lesson that you've taught many times before. The 𝗦𝗵𝗶, for example, or how you might review activities. I can see, just going back to the chat, people saying total physical response. So I could see some maybe acting out as lions, or stand up if you hear a lion. Really nice ideas. Okay. So we've looked at what's in the student book, what's in the teacher's book. Now we need to think about, do we need something else? Well, perhaps you might look at the workbook. So here's a couple of examples of what go with this unit of this book. There is word search, and there are some digital activities as well. So practicing the animal vocabulary, and learners could do these on a screen, on the classroom smartboard, or if you have individual devices. So again, some choices to make at the planning stage. Perhaps you're thinking about games here. And again, I've taken this example from primary. Loads and loads of offline games, but you've also got some digital online games, again, focusing on the language from each unit. So this one, they see a slow reveal of a picture and they have to shout out what it is they see. Whatever you choose, just think about what's the purpose of the game. To have fun is definitely a purpose, but think about how it fits into your lesson and how you will use it along with the rest of the activities. We also need, as well as the resources, we've talked about those, but how you'll actually teach the class. So it's thinking about how you'll set up activities and groups, that kind of thing, and how you will do feedback and how you'll use the board. So again, I just want to show you a couple of digital features of this Presentation Plus tool. And maybe this is similar to what you've used before. Adora, you're absolutely right. To use these tools, IWB is really, really essential, much easier than doing it on your computer, but that is possible too. But I think you can see from these tools more or less what they do. So writing, highlighting, the ones in the middle with the shading, you can show part of the screen or hide part of the screen. That's quite nice for guessing and focusing on pictures as well. So these are things, again, to think about at the planning stage. So how you'll use the board, how you'll use video, audio, and other resources. And also what else we need in this lesson. So if we've got other things we want to show on the screen, whether we're teaching online or not, it's good to have those tabs open, isn't it? And have all our activities ready. Okay, so I'm going to play another short video. This one's for secondary learners. It's from a different book. I want you to watch it and think about how you might use it. It's just a clip from the video. Ready? Let's go.
Many people claim that video games are bad for our brains. Parents say video games distract their kids from their homework. Scientists warn that video game playing is addictive and even harmful. And teachers don't ever want to catch you playing video games in class. But what if we looked at video games differently, as something positive, even inspirational? After all, video games improve certain skills, like hand-eye coordination, training programs for racing cars, flying planes, and doing medical procedures already use video games, and they work.
All right, so ideas, please. How might you use this? Thinking about secondary students. I've got a warm-up, nice idea. A debate or class discussion, very nice, on are video games good for you or not, perhaps? Another suggests lots of ideas on debate and discussion, great. And others saying it's a nice lead-in. Yeah, I wonder how you would use it in a lead-in. What would you do? Would you give a task? We've got vocabulary revision, a lead-in to essay writing, very nice, pros and cons. Wow, Ramona Yulia is linking it back to Marina's focus on fake news there. I really like that. So how can we trust the information we get? You're absolutely right. Really nice. So some great ideas there. Thank you for those. And a project. Okay, keep them coming. So on Cambridge One, you've got lots of video with all of the titles. And again, you've seen different video that's for primary and secondary. It feels very different. But what can we do with it? And here's just a screenshot of another video, which is Penny the Penguin, who introduces grammar in one of the primary titles. I'm going to show some ideas for using video. Let me know if you do any of these or if you have a different idea. So pre-watching things, prediction before watching. Maybe you could get learners thinking about pros and cons of video games and then watching to see if their idea was shown. Maybe you do a listening activity, so listening out for particular words or things that they see on the screen and then doing a stand up or hands up. You could also stop during the video. I wonder if you ever do these, so stopping and then guessing what happens next. Stopping to focus on vocabulary, or if you're showing a video of a story, it can be nice to do a bit of comprehension. Maybe pausing and having a game if it's for children, and to point to different things on the screen, or where's the something on the screen. You might also have no task. So I wonder if that's what some of you meant as a lead-in. And I think that's nice as well. Why not? We can watch something for enjoyment, or maybe we watch it a second time with a task, but the first time is just to get an idea. That's nice with stories. And then playing around with audio and images. So watching with the sound off, guessing perhaps what characters are saying in the story. Definitely you would need the subtitles off as well. I just had those on just in case. Maybe you get students to listen to audio only. Have you tried this? And guessing what happens, what they would see on the screen, or what type of person is speaking. And I wonder if you've tried a video jigsaw. So a simple way of doing this is switching off the sound, having students in pairs. One partner has their back to the screen and they can't see. They just face their partner, and their partner is watching the video and telling them what they can see. That's really fun. And then halfway through, they switch around. Or if you've got slightly older learners and you've got a spare room, you can put some learners in one room, some in the other, and have them watching just part of a video and then telling each other. That's really fun. I wouldn't do it with young children who are unsupervised though. What else? Singing along to the video. So definitely with the zoo song, and afterwards some review activities maybe. Asking learners what they remember. Maybe this could be oral or writing, and maybe acting it out if it was a story. Okay. And another one from Andre, find another ending. Really nice for a story. Yes, really great idea. Okay, so we're talking about visual resources now, aren't we? We've looked at video, flashcards. Again, I'm not going to go through activities. I'm sure you can tell me tons of things to do with flashcards. But just, again, thinking about how you would use them in the lesson. What will you use it as a prompt for? Perhaps productive activities, perhaps games. And again, thinking about, would you use digital flashcards? Because again, you have those on Cambridge 1, or would you use the hard copy instead? And depends on the game, I think, doesn't it? It's nice sometimes to play card games with flashcards, or to have, you know, slow reveal where you bring them out of a bag, or dealing them out to different learners. And just to show you how the digital ones look, so you can show it the picture and the words here, and you can play the audio, which gives pronunciation, or you can just show the picture, or you can toggle between the two. So again, quite useful to have that. I think somehow easier in a way than definitely making your own or finding the right flashcard that you want. Okay, so just to sum up this part about planning lessons, definitely we're starting with learners, looking at the students or the teacher's book, thinking about the syllabus, the curriculum, thinking about what additional resources we need. And again, you can find everything you need on Cambridge 1, I think, for these titles. Thinking about homework, what will you do? Will it be something hands-off? Will it be something digital? I'm thinking about how you will teach the lesson. So thinking about how you use the board, how you'll give feedback, and also how you'll integrate assessment into your lesson so you can check learners' understanding as you go along. Okay, and then for this last part, I want to just show you the options for digital homework on Cambridge 1. And how it can save you tons and tons of time. So I think if you're using any digital platform for setting homework, which is automatically marked, you already know how much time this saves you. So no longer any need to look in a book and tick all the spelling and mark the grammar gap fills. That will be done for you on the platform, which is wonderful. You can see who's done their homework, how many attempts they made, how long they spent on the homework. That's quite interesting. And then over time, you get a very clear indication of progress. You can also, through this platform, ask learners to submit spoken work, oral work, so they can record themselves and you'll get a notification. And they can enter their written work as well digitally if that's what you want to do. And again, you can give feedback through the platform. And as you have all this data in the same place, it means you can create reports about individual students or the whole class as well. So it's super. Let's have a look at some of the digital activities. So here's an example, secondary level, some options that you have for setting digital homework. So you can see the menu on the left. You can choose vocabulary or grammar, and here's just one example. And definitely you can find these on the internet and create your own using some tools, but this is all done for you. It's just so wonderful. Here's one for younger learners, so there are video activities as well to help with listening comprehension. Here is an example of how they record themselves, so practicing speaking and pronunciation, and practicing listening as well. And here you can see how it works on a mobile phone. Certainly children will be using their parents' phones for this, I imagine. The parents will have a login for younger learners. And then